Just remember this. The virus is very smart. I call it the Jason Bourne virus because it's sneaky, it can overcome defenses, and it kind of lulls everyone into complacency. Yes and no. Yes, you should be worried because you can imagine the virus coming in and swarming the whole country. Well, so what if 1% gets hospitalized? But that 1% could overwhelm our hospital care services just like that, which means we need to monitor carefully and watch carefully. But I'm not too worried because the healthcare system has extra hospital beds now created. You might be familiar with something called community treatment facilities. It's like mini hospitals, they're outside the hospitals so that people can be monitored safely and carefully. Singapore is very, very blessed, and so are many other Western or First World countries where they have good treatment modalities available. We have remdesivir, we have Actemra, we have baricitinib, and very recently, molnupiravir was just approved by FDA. With these armaments, we have more tools which can work against the virus. So that's good news for us. But remember, we are all at risk. The world marches out of COVID at the pace of the slowest nation. It is not about me getting out, or the States getting out, or China getting out, but the whole world getting out. And if we don't cooperate together, I'm sorry, it won't be good. There are quite a few vaccines in the market, and consistently, there are a few good winners, and this will be the Pfizer and the Moderna vaccines. We do have others that are available in other countries outside Singapore, like the J&J and the AstraZeneca. We do have the more traditional method of the Chinese inactivated vaccines. Now, different vaccines, different levels of quality, and different levels of protection. So they aren't exactly the same. If I were to say I'll get vaccinated, being vaccinated, the mRNA vaccines is quite different from the adenovirus-based vaccines or the Chinese inactivated vaccines. We have the strongest data in terms of the mRNA vaccines. There's mRNA with Moderna and mRNA with Pfizer. If you really want to have best results, the data strongly supports the role of 3 doses of vaccines, and this means the 2 first doses given 3 to 4 weeks, followed by the 3rd dose, which is given at about 6 months. And with this, we call this completed vaccination, and this is the attitude adopted by US CDC, adopted by the Europeans, as well as by Singaporeans and Israel. Israel, in fact, was the first country to institute this. So coming back to your question, if I am vaccinated, how much protection is there? If you have only had 2 doses of mRNA vaccine, unfortunately, I think you will still be at risk. However, with the 3rd dose, I think we may have hit the magical number. We might be able to do it. Now, the smart people in the audience will say, but the Moderna CEO said the vaccines don't work. Well, I want to remind the Moderna CEO of something. You see, the way he measured the immunity ability to overcome the Moderna vaccine is based on antibodies. Antibodies is a very one-way, one-track mind of looking at immune system. That would be the B-cell arm. The B-cell arm creates the antibodies, and I agree, the mismatch is not there. But what you have done with 3 doses of vaccine is you have pushed the numbers all the way up. You may lack quality, but you make up in good quantity. And in addition, besides the B cells, there's still the T cell arm. And the T cell arm tells you that the severity illness can be reduced with a good T cell response. And after 3 shots, you can be rest assured your T cell response is all ready for the real fight. However, all this is just theoretical. We're just discussing chess pieces on the chess game. The real battle will and the real results will come out in the next 2 to 4 weeks as we look into the real life situation. How do the highly vaccinated countries perform in the challenge and the face of Omicron? With that, we're going to get better results. And so far, I am still optimistic.
It's not just the Omicron variant, but rather we know that over the past 2 years, people who got COVID, their natural immunity don't last. There are studies that have looked at this and has indicated that at the most 9 months, but the median, so on average at about 3 months out from the initial infection, people's natural immunity gained from the initial infection will start to wane. So extrapolating that from what we already know from previous variants, I think the same thing will happen on Omicron, as in, yes, maybe we may have some immunity from the very initial infection, but it won't last and it's not going to be reliable. And if we really want to protect ourselves, we have to go for the vaccination post-infection. Very interesting couple of past few days where lots of media reports on coming up with new things about Omicron. So up to now, what we know is that this variant has about 50 mutations, of which at least 26 are unique to itself. And then in addition to that, they have a class of mutations which is centered around the spike protein. So as we know, the spike protein is important because this is where a lot of our vaccine induced antibody response is where it targets, and at the same time, some of the treatments, the laboratory manufactured proteins and monoclonal antibodies targets this receptor sites as well. So, of course, the concern to many of us is that, okay, now we know that there's so much mutation clustering around this binding site. What is it going to mean for our vaccines? What is it going to mean for the treatments that we already have out there? Certainly, I think a lot more studies are going to go ahead to confirm whether or not these will be impacted. But at this point in time, certainly, I have to say vaccination will be the way to go to give us that protection. The other thing that some of us are worried about is the detection, right? So I think we read about how while the PCR is still the gold standard and it is the way to look for Omicron variant, but the thing is, this Omicron variant exhibits the S gene dropout. So there will be some PCR tests, or rather one of the ways to pick it out is such that it's going to be an S negative PCR and a nucleocapsid, which is another protein positive. Detection through PCR. How is it going to impact our ART test kit? Is it going to be still as sensitive? So again, these are some issues that will be looked at over the next couple of days to weeks.
We are like a ship. We're a ship sailing along and all of us are all in the same boat. We're going to go along and we see threatening weather ahead of us. What we need to do is work together, put on your safety belts, wear your life jackets, adjust your vaccines, and when the bad weather hits, we are ready. We will ride it out together as one ship, one nation, one will, and one success.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for your regular dose of Asian health information.